First, I'd like to introduce our interpreter, Carlos Diaz, before the meeting starts to kick off our interpretation.
Thank you very much. I will begin with the instructions in Spanish and I'll be back with the instructions in English. Muy buenos días. Estoy ofreciendo interpretación simultánea para esta sesión. Para hacer uso del servicio, por favor desplácese si nos acompaña por Zoom a la parte inferior de la pantalla, donde verá un icono que parece un globito terráqueo y de ahí seleccionaría Spanish o español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom en celular, tableta, etc., presionaría primero los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Y por último, si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio o silenciar audio original. Si nos acompaña presencialmente en la sala de juntas y necesita interpretación, por favor diríjase a la recepción y solicite un receptor. Este parece un pequeño iPod y lo puede utilizar para escuchar la reunión en español. Simplemente sostenga el auricular junto a su oído y la interpretación comenzará automáticamente. Once again, interpretation is being provided to and from Spanish. To use the feature, if you are joining us via Zoom, please scroll down to the bottom of the screen where the meeting controls are. There you will click on the interpretation icon. It looks like a little world, and then select English as your language. If you are joining through the Zoom mobile app, you would first press the ellipsis, the three dots, then interpretation, and then choose your language. If you are joining us in person at SANDAG and need interpretation into English, please check out a headset from the receptionist. The headset looks like a little iPod and comes with an earpiece which you can use to hear any Spanish comments or questions translated back into English. Simply hold the earpiece to your ear and the interpreter will come on automatically. Gracias and thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Welcome everybody to the May 16th STAC meeting. My name is Megan Schmidt. I am the chair of this committee as well as the director of operations at FACT. And before we begin, I'd like to ask Tessa, who's serving as clerk, to confirm if we have the quorum and do a quick roll call.
Good morning. For special interest voting member seat A, Wayne Landon. Special interest voting member seat B, Clyde Kohler. At-large voting member seat A, David Jackson.
Here.
And Todd Shaw. At-large voting member seat B, Todd Lordson.
Here.
At-large voting member seat C, Alex Warner. Yes. San Diego Center for the Blind is absent. Travelers Aid Society of San Diego, Marcy Rourke. And Adriana Yemhatpi. Here, sorry. No problem. Options for All is absent. The Arc of San Diego seat is absent. Jewish Family Services, Christine Stensberg. And Marilyn Greenblatt. Here. FACT, seat A, Chair Schmidt.
Here.
Seat B is absent. MTS Fixed Route, Carla Perez. Here. MTS Paratransit, Jay Washburn.
Here.
And both seats for NCTD are absent, and that confirms a quorum.
Thank you. If we can do some introductions of any other staff or presenters who are not part of roll call.
Hi, this is Ashley Wiley. I am here as your staff liaison, and I just wanted to say hi, and this will actually be my last meeting. Zach Bratt over here, who will introduce himself, will be taking over STAC for me.
Hi, everyone. My name's Zach. I work with Ashley and Brian, who I'm sure you all know. I'll be the new liaison for STAC, so I'm here today with Ashley, learning the ropes, and then at the meeting in July, I'll be your person, your go-to. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley, for all of your service and support and help. And thank you, Zach. And I'll give you both a round of applause. And then I'd like to also let anyone online who is here with us introduce themselves if they would like to. Raise their hand.
Yeah, just so that we allow them to speak.
Oh, okay. If you'd like to introduce yourself, you can raise your hand if you're joining us virtually.
I have one hand raised, or two. Jay Hatfield, please go ahead.
Hi, yes, Jay Hatfield from Braille Institute. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you. And Lori, please go ahead.
I'm Lori Seagram from Borrego Springs. And welcome, everybody.
And one final member with a phone number ending in 433. Please go ahead.
My name is Jacqueline Jackson, and I'm with the Accessibility Advisory Board for the City of San Diego.
And there are no further hands raised.
Wonderful. Thank you for attending online. And now I'll review the meeting process for members and members of the public who wish to participate. For members, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand and I will call on you by name. For members of the public, you may provide live comments during today's meeting. If you are a member of the public here in the room and would like to provide comments on an item, please submit a speaker slip to the clerk. And those can be found at the back of the room. If you are a member of the public joining via Zoom, please raise your virtual hand and you'll be called on by your name or the last 4 digits of the number you are calling in on. And the clerk will call on members of the public virtual first and then in person. Any questions from members of the working group before we proceed? Not seeing any. All right, we'll go to item number 1, which is public comments and member comments. David?
Are we going to talk about the bus and trolley possibility strike stuff today here at this meeting?
I believe MTS probably would have an update on that when we get to their item. Thank you.
Because I don't know, the bus was 20 minutes late today, but I made it on time. Yay.
And Chair, there are no public comments.
All right, thank you. Next item. There's no member comments either, right? David, okay. All right, item number 2 is approval of the meeting minutes, and we have to go way back to November of last year. Oh, it's supposed to say January, sorry, mine says November here. January, that's okay, you are forgiven. No need to apologize. All right. Approval of meeting minutes. Does anyone want
Motion to approve.
Jay, thank you. Second. Second, Wayne. Do we need to do roll call?
No, raise your hands.
All right. I think we're all raising our hands if we're approving minutes. And any opposed? Nope. Okay.
Any abstentions?
And Clyde.
I just want to be clear, that was 2 members that abstained?
Yes.
Okay, Heidi Kohler and, I'm sorry, what? Thank you.
All right, and now we'll proceed to approve the items on consent.
It was just that one.
Oh,
That's only our consent.
okay. All righty then. We have no questions and no comments, it looks like.
And for the record, there
so
are no public comments.
we can move on then to item number 3, which is access for all Cycle 2-4 projects. And but just before we begin, I'm just going to preface this with that I want to keep the goal that the Public Utilities Commission has set in mind for this item, which is to provide accessible transportation as quickly as possible and with as many trips as possible for persons with disabilities who are using wheelchair accessible vehicles. And with that, we will hear an update on the Access for All from Benjamin Gembler, our Associate Grants Program Analyst from SANDAG.
Thank you, Megan. Can you all hear me okay? Move a little closer. Good morning, STEC members. My name is Benjamin Gambler, as Megan mentioned. I'm the program manager for Access for All. It's good to see a number of you in person after seeing many of you virtually for a while. I'm here today to provide you with a brief update on Access for All Cycle 2 Call for Projects. We've had some changes that we're proposing for the Call for Projects. That includes revisions of the program's goals, objectives, evaluation criteria, and funding structure. Today, we'll provide an overview of AFA, the proposed changes, and a timeline with next steps in the process. Do I need to advance? Is this my advancer? I've never used it before. Green button? Okay, awesome. That's so easy. So to address the lack of accessibility of wheelchair accessible vehicles or WAVE services statewide, in 2018, Senate Bill 1376 created the TNC Access for All program. This legislation directed the California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC, to establish a program to improve accessibility of TNC services, such as Uber and Lyft, for individuals with disabilities, especially those needing WAVEs. To generate funding for the program, since 2019, TNCs have collected and deposited a 10-cent access fee into the CPUC's Access Fund for each completed TNC trip. Those fees are reserved for use by the county in which the TNC trip was made. And a portion of those funds are then distributed by the local Access Fund Administrator, or LAFA, for each county. SANDAG is the LAFA for San Diego County and is required to distribute Access Fund monies through an annual competitive process known as the Call for Projects. The Cycle 2 Call for Projects will fund over $2.3 million for programs and projects that provide on-demand WAVE services to individuals with disabilities in San Diego County, particularly those needing a wheelchair. Eligible applicants must provide service directly or contract with a provider to provide WAVE service. On-demand for Cycle 2 Call for Projects is defined by the CPUC as a response time from ride request to pickup of no more than 24 hours. Transportation carriers must hold a charter party carrier permit, and if not permitted, they must provide documentation that they can comply with requirements around several areas, including insurance, drug and alcohol testing, and safety. The timeline for the Call for Projects will start this month after the Transportation Committee meets on May 19th to consider a recommendation that our Board of Directors approve the eligibility and evaluation criteria for Cycle 2. On May 26th, the SANDAG Board of Directors will consider approval of the scoring criteria. Shortly thereafter, we'll open the Call for Projects where eligible applicants can submit their project proposals. Once the application period has concluded, we'll review applications for eligibility, followed by a scoring of eligible projects by an evaluation panel and by staff. Staff will then make funding recommendations to the Transportation Committee and the board to fund projects based on project rankings. So as mentioned earlier, we've gathered feedback from specialized transportation stakeholders from the region that's informed our Cycle 2 Call for Projects. We use the goals, objectives, and evaluation criteria from the Cycle 1 Call for Projects as a starting point and a source for updates for Cycle 2. Over the past few months, we've also heard, gathered, and compiled feedback from specialized transportation stakeholders from the region. That has further informed our Call for Projects, including the Council on Access and Mobility and an Access for All stakeholder engagement workshop. This has led to updated goals, objectives, and evaluation criteria that are used to score projects. Based on the feedback we've received to date, we're proposing a slightly revised program goal that contains new underlined elements seen here. Our proposed goal is to improve on-demand mobility for individuals with disabilities, including wheelchair users needing a wheelchair accessible vehicle, by meeting their range of accessibility needs, expanding service options, and removing existing barriers so that WAVE service is equivalent to non-WAVE service. And in addition, we've made changes and added to our proposed objectives based on stakeholder feedback, which you will see here. I believe it's maroon, kind of looks like that. These new objectives seek to encourage collaboration between different types of specialized transportation providers and address gaps in WAVE service to create the best overall service for the region for individuals with disabilities, particularly wheelchair users. In addition, new objectives look to focus more on meeting the greatest specialized transportation needs, in the region in ways that create the least adverse environmental impacts. We also heard feedback from the disability community that we need a more deliberative decision-making process to include and involve individuals with disabilities during the development of the call for projects. Included in the changes we made to the Cycle 2 call for projects has been a proposed division of funding and evaluation criteria that will split new and existing specialized transportation providers into different funding categories. We want to allow greater diversity of applicants from the region who can compete for funding based on their level of experience, organizational capacity, and the scale of their project proposal. This change was based on feedback from both existing specialized transportation providers who are interested in providing on-demand services, as well as requests from the disability community, asking for the inclusion of new service providers in the program. When bringing Cycle 1 funding recommendations to the Transportation Committee last November, we stated we would potentially change the funding structure to allow more applicants to apply for Cycle 2 funding. AFA did not have many applicants for the previous cycle of funding. One of the positive developments from the stakeholder feedback from Cycle 2 has been hearing more voices of disability advocates about how the program can improve the specialized transportation landscape and address their needs more directly. We want to encourage both existing and new specialized transportation providers who are interested in and able to provide on-demand wave service to submit project proposals for Cycle 2. However, we recognize that for entities that are new to providing specialized transportation for individuals with disabilities, including wave service, it can be more difficult to compete against existing providers who have more experience and resources to apply for funding and to carry out projects. Projects from both existing and new providers that can provide results can enhance the specialized transportation landscape. And we want to give opportunities for program applicants to test out different models of service at different scales. So one portion of funding would be available to existing specialized transportation providers who can demonstrate experience providing wave services and can provide on-demand wave service. We envision a more comprehensive, regional, or larger scale service from this category. And a second category would be available for those who don't provide wave service and could use more resources to get on-demand wave service started. We see service in this category demonstrated through smaller pilot-type projects that can be scaled up if successful. Details on our proposals, including funding options for the Transportation Committee to consider, can be found in Attachment 1 in your packets. There is no one perfect solution, and we are committed to looking to different models. In order to make the program more responsive, we need to be open to feedback. Consider different types of project proposals, monitor and observe models of service, and make needed changes. Making changes and being open and responsive to new program components are a part of the development process that we believe can improve the program and allow for more applicants to submit proposals that can improve program outcomes. So under our proposal, each funding category would have a set of evaluation criteria used to score project applications. Proposed scoring criteria for existing providers can be found in Attachment 1 and for new providers in Attachment 2 of your packets. Based on feedback from specialized transportation stakeholders, we've made several changes to enhance our evaluation criteria used to score projects, and you'll see those changes in maroon. We've increased the point total on several categories, including for coordination and program outreach and their operational and implementation plan. New specialized transportation providers criteria are based on the existing criteria we used for Cycle 1, followed by changes made based on feedback we received during the development of Cycle 2. We're also developing revised, more precise scoring guidelines that will help guide evaluators with project proposal scoring, known as a scoring rubric. So you can see here the anticipated timeline. May 19th, we'll be going to the Transportation Committee, followed by the Board of Directors. Our call for projects will start in June and will close in the fall, which will be followed by reviewing, ranking, and scoring, and then funding recommendations later in the fall, followed by the start of AFA service and post-award activities, end of 2023, beginning of 2024. We welcome input from the STAC on regional transportation needs, potential changes to eligibility and evaluation criteria, and potential improvements to SANDAG's administration of the Access for All program. Here's some ways to provide additional feedback going forward, as you can see on your screen. And I wanted to thank everybody for their attention today, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ben. Are there any comments from the public?
I have one public commenter on this item. Matt, please go ahead.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. I just had a quick two-part question. Is it a requirement that the applicants have a TCP number active? That's a question.
That's a question.
Just for the record, Matt, for public comments, we're not required or expected to provide answers.
Oh, okay.
Chair to make that determination once you have finished your public comments. So
Oh, I see. Okay, no problem. So I'll just finish real quick. So that was my question. If an applicant, a requirement is to have an active TCP number, and also, what other documentation would qualify, for an applicant if they do or don't have a TCP number. And then it looks like the link online to the packet, the two items that you mentioned, the link itself doesn't work, at least not on my computer. So I'm just wondering if maybe you could provide a link where I could get those attachments to, and that's all. Thanks.
So I do know that that information was included in the application as far as the permits that were required. I don't know if Ben wants to provide any specifics right now, or if we should just, have this email go out with all the information.
Yeah, if that's okay, I can get the email and send all that information out.
Great, thank you.
that concludes the public comments.
I see a hand from Arun.
Thank you. Arun, please go ahead. All right, hold on. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Could you just confirm that?
Yes, I did. Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. This is Arun Prem, Executive Director of FACT. Thanks, Ben, for the presentation, and thank you, Megan. We have prepared a response to the information that you just heard that we have shared with SANDAG, and I plan to share with the Transportation Committee. And I would like to read that letter that I sent as part of for this record. So I'll try to do it in less than 3 minutes. Here goes. I'm writing on behalf of the Board of Directors of FACT to provide input on the proposed Access for All Cycle 2 grant proposal for wheelchair accessible vehicle services. We believe the proposal to split the AFA funds into 2 separate grants, one for current wave service providers and one for new wave service, needs to be qualified further to meet the Public Utilities Commission AFA program objectives. AFA Cycle 1 has not yet begun, and we have no lessons learned from the actual operations. Therefore, to make a major change in the funding of the program at this time seems premature. We believe that splitting funds from AFA Cycle 2 would jeopardize efforts in achieving economies of scale in providing wave services. Cycle 2 proposal is also inconsistent with AFA program objectives. According to the program overview and requirements for Access Fund administrators, published by CPUC's Consumer Protection Enforcement Division, access providers must meet the following requirement: directly provides or contracts with a separate organization or entity to provide on-demand wave transportation to meet the needs of persons with disabilities. Obviously, that's not the case when we're funding people to do startups. According to SANDAG staff, a new desired outcome of Cycle 2 funding is to promote and develop new AFA service providers. FACT concurs with this objective. As the Consolidated Transportation Services Agency, the CTSA, appointed by SANDAG, FACT has been a long-term advocate and catalyst for building accessible special needs taxi cab services and infrastructure in San Diego County. To that end, our service model supports and enhances local taxi cab services. Operating and capital funds received by FACT are used for reimbursements for rides provided by taxi cab services, training and technical assistance, free vehicle inspections, and low-cost vehicle leases. This unique service model, known as FACT's brokerage, was established in 2012. It has helped grow local taxi cab businesses and introduce accessible transportation countywide in a cost-effective manner and a sustainable manner. FACT's vehicle lease program and the role it plays in developing wave mobility in San Diego cannot be overstated. Without it, many county residents would have no accessible travel options. The ADA paratransit services provided by MTS, Access, and NCTD Lyft are limited by service area, and many persons with disabilities and seniors do not qualify for those services. Given that there are only 2 accessible taxi cab vehicles reported in San Diego, FACT's program is a huge plus for our riders in need. To date, FACT has obtained through grants 61 accessible vehicles that we have provided to local taxi cab companies and nonprofits via low-cost leases or donations. Leased vehicles recipients include several taxi cab companies like AAA Transportation, Elite Transportation, Farad Transportation, and nonprofits like Terry Inc., agencies like NCTD, City of Vista, City of Oceanside, Renewing Life, another nonprofit, Safety First, another taxi cab provider, and Venture Medical, also a taxi cab provider. So the list goes on and on. Recipients of donated vehicles from FACT include a number of nonprofits like Renewing Life, Home of Guiding Hands, St. Paul's Senior Services, St. Madeleine Sophie's, Boys and Girls Club of Oceanside, and CityLink Foundation. We plan to procure 12 new accessible vehicles in 2023, and 20 more accessible vehicles are part of recent grant requests. FACT's board held a vigorous discussion on the Cycle 2 proposal you heard today and sought input from SANDAG staff and several local leaders. We have developed two options for SANDAG to consider that we believe would address concerns about inclusion, diversity, and equity without impacting the safety, quality, and efficiency of services that the community should receive. The 2 options are presented below for your consideration. Option A, a 90-10 funding split, with 90% funds awarded competitively to a single entity and existing wave services provider, and 10% funds awarded competitively to a new wave services provider who is committed to working proactively with other grantees. Option B is award 100% funds to a single entity competitively. The awardee will commit to reserving at least 10% of the project budget towards developing new wave services in an exclusive and equitable manner as per criteria determined by SANDAG. As the CTSA designated by SANDAG, FACT is committed to spending public funds in the most effective manner. We believe that option B makes that possible, and it represents the best interest of the taxi cab community and the residents of San Diego County, and we believe SANDAG. In a funding environment where special needs funds are scarce, a cohesive approach to funding projects would result in better return on investment and more services. FACT looks forward to your review of these options and working with you in developing a wave service model that will build on the Cycle 1 investment that you made in FACT and enhance mobility and in a structured and sustainable manner for all San Diegans. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun. Any other public comments or member comments on this item? There are no.
No further public comments.
Okay. Moving on to the next item, but then or Ben, thank you. The next item is item number 4, ADA effective communications. And we have Catherine Tibal, Senior Administrative Analyst at SANDAG on ADA effective communications.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here, this opportunity to speak with you this morning. So I am Catherine Thibault, Senior Social Equity Analyst for the Office of Diversity and Equity. Okay, so just a few words about what we do and who we are. So SANDAG's Office of Diversity and Equity is committed to promoting diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in all of our programs, projects, and services. We do so by providing technical support to the different staff at SANDAG, as well as by leading different programs, including our DBE, Community Benefits Agreement Program, Environmental Justice Program, and Americans with Disabilities Act program. So when we talk about ADA, we typically think about looking at projects and programs and conducting a technical review to make sure that they're accessible and safe for people with living with disabilities. But there's also an important requirement in the ADA, which is about effective communication, which requires covered entities to provide aids and services when needed to communicate effectively with people who have communication disabilities. So we are committed to fulfill this mandate, and we have been providing accommodations over the last few years to support and make sure that anyone and everyone have the ability to fully participate to our various events and activities. So we provide, for instance, closed captioning to all of our virtual meetings, as well as assistive listening devices in our in-person events. We're also willing to offer any additional accommodations as needed based on the specific requirements or need of individuals. This is an offer that we would disseminate and publicize through our website, as well as our agendas and invitations. So we're willing to provide any reasonable accommodation as long as we get the request at least 72 hours prior to an event. And just to note that to date, we have not received such a request. So over the last few months, we've been giving some thoughts about our processes and thinking about refinements that we could introduce to be better prepared if such a request was to come. So for instance, we've expanded procurement that is currently being posted for language interpretation services so that we can include ASL interpretation as well to this on-call. We've also been in communication with the San Diego Center for the Blind, which has provided trainings and tools for staff who would be willing to act as a human guide as needed. And we are also further communicating and disseminating the information to our internal staff, especially our staff who have been just recently hired, to make sure that people are aware of these accommodations and our willingness to work with people, and that they know how to do so if such a request was to be made. So I wanted to reach out with you today and have a discussion to hear from you and understand, what are the needs that we should be most prepared for. So I was hoping that we could have a discussion and that you could tell me about what are specifically the main communication barriers that the population that you serve with face, that we should, for which we should have some processes in place. And I would also be curious to hear about what strategies or refinements we should be making to our information process so that we can increase awareness and make sure that everyone is aware that these accommodations are available and that the process to request them is clear and easy to do so. So That's it. Any questions or comments?
Thank you. Any public comments
There are no public comments.
and any member comments? Todd?
Catherine, is it possible that before I leave today, can I give your email? We have a staff person, the agency that we serve, it's all developmental disabilities. And I think she'd be a good person to maybe connect with you with, because for me, as far as the most critical communication for the population we serve, a lot of people are nonverbal or have, again, the cognitive disability where it may take several times to understand something of that nature. But she's was brought on board to, kind of facilitate some of this information. So if I can just get your email before the end of the day, and I'll try to put the two of you in touch.
Absolutely. And it's in the agenda packet, but I can also give you my card.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
the
look.
last slide.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I can also send that to you, Todd, as well, her information. I can send her your information too.
Chair, I do have one public commenter.
Yes, Ethel?
Ethel Miranda, please go ahead. You are self-muted.
Okay, am I unmuted yet? Okay,
Yes, go ahead, please.
thank you. My jaws was talking. Okay, yeah, thank you for your information and thank you for being there. I am a member of the blind community and we have received, my blind community, very important communications that we needed to know when there were things like fare changes coming our way, public meetings. Often we receive these communications in printed letters that if we're totally blind, such as I am, and many of us are, it goes just past us. We effectively do not receive that. If you could make sure that Braille is available, that would be really helpful. Make sure that large print is available. That would be very helpful. Maybe reaching out to our agencies that are out there that serve the blind and visually impaired, such as both San Diego Centers for the Blind, the one in San Diego, as well as the one, not forgetting, North County and Braille Institute. So those are three. Because I remember when I still could see, using a magnifier, reading the letter, taking a microphone at these agencies and letting them know, hey guys, this is coming our way. Be sure to attend these meetings. And unfortunately, I got a lot of, there was a lot of good reception, like, oh no, we didn't know. But some of them said, no way, we didn't get that. We didn't see that. We didn't, they wouldn't do that without, they couldn't believe, really, they sent us printed letters. So if you could keep that in mind, that would be great. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And that concludes the public comments.
Thank you, Ethel.
I just wanted to add, Ashley, I didn't, if I'd flipped one more page, I'd have saw the email. So I've got it. Thanks, everybody.
All right, any other, Clyde?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Clyde. Ashley?
I just want to also let all members, if you guys can make sure to speak into your microphones, that'll also help with some of the hearing. Thank you.
All right. No other member comments then, it looks like. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. And yes, feel free to, so you have my email, feel free to reach out if you have other comments. Thank you.
And next we're going to go to item number 5, which is the STAC membership, and we'll hear from Ashley.
Hello. Okay, so we have 4 positions on STAC that are expiring this year. We have 1 special interest voting member, which is Clyde, your spot. We have another special interest member, which is Wayne, your spot is expiring this year. And then we have an at-large voting member, Lori Seagram, who I don't believe is here today. I think she might be joining online, but her spot is expiring. And then we also have 1 representative of social services providers, and that is San Diego Center for the Blind. Their spot is expiring. Per the STAC charter, STAC members shall be chosen by a selection panel and shall serve a 3-year term beginning and ending in the month of July. At the end of their term, members may apply for another term. The 3-year terms are staggered among the selected members such that for members, the term is approximately 1/3 of the membership shall expire. The membership application and selection process, therefore, occurs annually. A selection panel shall consist of SANDAG staff and no more than 3 current members of STAC whose membership positions are not open for application. The selection panel shall select the members from a broad representation of the social services agencies, transportation providers, and others representing the elderly, the disabled, or persons of limited means, and strive to attain a geographic and minority representation among the members. We are looking to fill these positions that will be open in July. The application process will begin on May 23rd and end June 23rd. The selection committee will then meet in the first half of July, and successful applicants will be announced at our July 18th STAC meeting, at which those times we will also select a new chair and vice chair. So we are currently looking for members to serve on the selection committee. Again, I'm looking for 3 current members who are not up for re-election. And if I have any volunteers at the moment, I will take them. And if I do not, I will reach out again with an email following this and request some. Jay, I have 1. Anybody else would like to volunteer? Kristen? Just need 1 more. And Alex? Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then I will also just in general be following up with the links for the applications for both the individual and the provider positions. So look for that email coming out. If you are up for re-election and would like to reapply, make sure you do so. And with that, that is the end for STAC membership. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for volunteering, and thank you, Ashley. Now, the transit operator update. I don't think anybody from NCTD is joining virtually, are they?
No, I don't believe so, but I will reach out to NCTD and ask if there was any notable updates from them, and I can provide those to you guys along with that membership email. So anything that we need to follow up, I think we'll have some follow-ups from Ben as well. And I can provide Catherine's information all in kind of one follow-up email to the members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. And Jay, MTS.
Before, I'd just like to state for the record before Jay goes that there were no public comments on item 5.
Oh, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Couple of things. SANDAG just this week, I believe, approved an extension of the Youth Opportunity Pass program, which is free rides for individuals 18 and under on MTS and NCTD. So we're very excited about the extension of that program. That program does extend over to youths on MTS Access also. So it's a really good program out there. We recently, in April 26th and 27th, experienced at MTS a job action. This was not a strike by MTS employees. It was actually a strike that was occurring in El Centro with the contracted provider down there, First Transit, and individuals from there extended the picket lines up to MTS sites. So MTS personnel or First Transit and Transdev personnel serving MTS were not actually on strike. They just were honoring those picket lines. So it was a 2-day job action. We have not seen any further job action since then. There is ongoing negotiations between First Transit and Transdev and their prospective labor unions. Both of the labor contracts are up in those areas, and there does continue to be a potential for further job actions or strikes. MTS is working diligently to keep riders notified. We have specialized website with information set up there, updated as timely as we have information available to us. We've used several alerting systems with access riders through email blasts and robocalls to keep them updated and communicate with them and do everything possible to limit service disruptions. But there still is the ongoing potential at this time for further direct job actions at both the South Bay area and also at the minibus and MTS access service locations. Also, a change we have coming up with access starting June 1st is we are expanding the reservations window. Currently, access riders can book up to 2 days in advance, and we are extending that out to 10 days. Trying to give riders greater flexibility and opportunity to be able to book their trips at their convenience, as opposed to having to worry about getting everything done within 2 days prior to those reservations. So we look at this as being a real plus to the riders and giving them greater flexibility in their reservations making. And that's pretty much it right now.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Any member comments or public comments? Todd.
Jay, thanks for clarifying the job action, because on the news it presented as it was an MTS strike. And so thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. And I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to make sure the expanded window goes both to the phone call and the online reservations.
Correct. All modes of trip booking will be 10 days.
There are no public comments.
Okay, thank you. And I can give the update for fact. So we have quite a bit going on right now. Our board retreat is coming up next week, May 25th at the Marina Village Conference Center. If anyone would like to attend, that is open to the public, and there will be a virtual option as well as in person. We've been providing support to First Transit during the MTS strike and providing trips, usually somewhere around 40 trips per day for MTS access riders. And that's ongoing. And then this Friday at the Transportation Committee meeting here at SANDAG, Arun, our executive director of FACT, will be giving a presentation about FACT and funding needs and kind of an overview of FACT services. So if anyone would like to attend that meeting in person or virtually, I would encourage you to participate. The Access for All Cycle 1 grant is soon to be executed, and we will be holding a kickoff event sometime in June, and we're very excited working with SANDAG to plan that. We currently have an American Cancer Society grant right now. So if you know anyone who is needing rides to cancer-related appointments, we do have some funding available specifically for that. You can give FACT a call and we can schedule those trips. And we are currently working on a new pilot with UCSD and 211 San Diego to help with reducing readmissions for patients who have been discharged and need follow-up appointments. So stay tuned for news on that pilot. And then we are also working with NCTD on a pilot for those who may want same-day transportation, but a set aside from the NCTD LIFT program. So we will also provide updates when that is finalized. So a lot going on right now, but any questions for me? Adriana?
Good morning. For the American Cancer Society program, do they just call the main line and tell you guys, I need a trip to a cancer-related medical appointment?
Yes.
Just for people that don't qualify for a program?
Yes.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you.
All right. I don't see any other questions. Any public comment?
There are no public comments.
Okay, thank you. And now item 8, Zach will provide the staff report.
Thank you, Megan. A few updates from SANDAG and our transit planning efforts right now. We are starting an impact study for evaluating the impacts of further transit fare subsidies or free transit fares. We just kicked this off last week with a consultant and some of our own staff. So we'll be looking at kind of building on the Youth Opportunity Pass and seeing if we were to expand that program or continue fare subsidies or continue to reduce the cost of transit overall for riders, what the impacts would be on the transit system throughout the county, and what different provisions we would have to take to make that successful. Secondly, we are continuing our work on the San Ysidro Mobility Hub. One second, pulling up my notes. We're working on the San Ysidro Mobility Hub, looking at both near-term and long-term improvements. It's one of the busiest stations on our regional network and obviously one of the busiest land border crossings in the world. The study's currently looking at ongoing focuses on near-term station improvements to address a lot of issues that have been happening for a long time around pedestrian safety and connectivity, increasing transit service capacity and improving the user experience. And staff will be coming to STAC at a later date with a more fleshed out presentation on that project. We're also starting this summer on 2 more conceptual studies for different rail transit services. The first is the Blue Line Express, which is looking at ways to speed up the Blue Line rail service from San Ysidro into downtown San Diego. Currently, it takes around an hour to make that trip, and we're looking to make that as faster in any way that we can. The second is the Purple Line conceptual study, which would be a new rail line, also serving that north-south population, but a little bit further inland into Sorrento Valley and Kearney Mesa, and serving like City Heights and National City and potentially down to San Ysidro as well. These are key projects in the regional plan, and they'll help us identify opportunities to improve existing rail service and advance those future rail corridor plans. There's going to be a presentation on these at Transportation Committee this Friday. So if you're more interested, there'll be a more in-depth from the project teams on those this week. And finally, we're continuing our work on our rapid bus service. We're planning 3 new, we're calling them next generation bus rapid transit routes. We're pretty deep into the process now, and we have some alternatives for 3 routes. The first is in Escondido. The second is in the city of San Diego along the Genesee corridor. It's parallel to Route 41. And the third is in San Diego, National City, and Chula Vista, stretching from San Diego State all the way down to the Palomar Street Transit Center on the Blue Line. We're going to be coming back to STAC with this project as well in July. We're going to have some conceptual drawings and designs of what our routes and our stations are going to look like. And so we're going to be looking for some feedback from STAC. We're trying to improve access and connectivity, and especially access for wheelchairs and people with mobility impairments. So we're going to be soliciting feedback from STAC on that when we have those available in July. So that's what's going on at SANDAG, and I can take questions if there's any public comments, Tessa, or member comments.
Yeah. There are no public comments.
David?
Hey, Zach, is there still talk about extending the trolley south of San Ysidro into Tijuana? I've read or heard about something like that.
Yeah, about a year ago, SANDAG released what we called requests for innovative concepts. That was one of the proposals we received, would be a complete redevelopment of the San Ysidro Transit Center and an extension of the rail line into Tijuana. I am not familiar with the project, so I don't know how much has developed since then, but it's something that's still in consideration, yeah.
All right, thanks.
Right. Thank you, Zach. And now we will go to our public hearing. Ashley.
Hello. I'm going to kick off our public hearing and then hand it back to Megan to open that up. In accordance with Public Utilities Code 99238, one of the responsibilities of the Social Services Transportation Advisory Council is to annually participate in the identification of transit needs in the jurisdiction, including unmet transit needs that may exist within the jurisdiction of the council and that may be reasonable to meet by establishing or contracting for new public transportation or specialized transportation services, or by expanding existing services. Additionally, per the Public Utilities Code 99238.5, SANDAG shall ensure the establishment and implementation of a citizens' participation process, utilizing the Social Services Transportation Advisory Council as a mechanism to solicit the input of transit-dependent and transit disadvantaged persons, including the elderly, disabled, and persons of limited means. The process shall include provisions for at least one public hearing in the jurisdiction represented by the Social Services Transportation Advisory Council. To date, we have 2 comments that were sent via our comment form to be read aloud at the meeting. Per the instructions earlier, if you would like to speak and if you're a member, just raise your hand and we'll call on you by name. If you are online, please raise your hand. And if you are in person providing a public comment, please submit a speaker slip to the clerk. Any comments received will be investigated and, if necessary, forwarded to the appropriate agency for response. Responses will be provided at the July 18th, 2023 STAC meeting. Chair Schmidt, would you like to open the public hearing?
Yes, please.
Would you like me to read the 2 comments that we received ahead of time at the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. My first comment was from Virginia Lingman. The MTS access buses are too rough and bumpy for my mother in her wheelchair. She will not risk injury to ride it. Please provide other alternatives for those in wheelchairs who need door-to-door assistance, such as vans as an alternate vehicle type in the region. Also, please support existing groups providing excellent transportation services, such as Jewish Family Services, so that they might be able to expand their coverage in areas to assist seniors and people with disabilities. My second comment is from Kimberly Valdovinas. Individuals who are non-ambulatory and need transportation with medical appointments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Are there any other public comments?
I currently have one hand raised. Ethel Miranda, please go ahead. You are self-muted.
Okay, now it says I'm unmuted. Okay, all right. My comment is I would like our public transportation or transit agencies to please put accessibility, make it a priority, put it at the forefront. I was on the Sprinter train. I'm from North County. I was on the Sprinter train earlier this month with a friend of mine. Fortunately, I went with a friend, sighted friend, completely blind. So, and was hurtling. That's exactly what it felt like, being hurtled down a dark tunnel because there were no announcements, no working announcements on that Sprinter train. I asked my friend what was going on, and he just casually mentioned that, oh yeah, some trains don't have it. Some just don't work, or don't know if it's why that would be. And it was really disconcerting and completely inaccessible, because had I not been with a sighted friend, would not have been able to safely complete my trip. Not okay. And I was disheartened to hear that some of the trolleys on the MTS side are the same. Not okay. That is completely inaccessible for those who are visually impaired and blind. That is a lot of our goals. Even though we are paratransit certified, we need to be able to, our goal is to travel independently, always. Good goal. So please make that a priority, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it is ADA law. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ethel. Any other public comments?
There are no further public commenters.
And any member comments? Todd?
Hi, Megan. I think I spoke to it in the past before, but it's mainly along the 56 corridor. I mean, we have some people that live there that just can't get any services. And I know there's no public system that runs through there. Subsequently, then there's no ADA services. So just seems to be an area that's well enough populated that we should be able to have some services there. Thanks.
Sure. And I think, once Access for All is implemented, there will be more capacity for providing trips for people with disabilities throughout the entire San Diego region. So it'll be interesting to see how this hearing goes a year from now after that's in place. But I know, for fact specifically, we've had funding limitations where we've only been able to provide 30 trips a day for quite a while now. And that's, really impacted our riders. And we've heard a lot of, frustration and need. And so we know that more funding is definitely needed. And we also, hear that from people who we give referrals to other specialized transportation agencies as well. So there's also, something that I would like to encourage is that when there is funding that comes into the region, whether it be through the county or whether it be through SANDAG, if there's some way to align the criteria or the parameters of those programs so that it's not only limited to specific zip codes or, there's more hurdles and challenges when there's more parameters put on the funding. So if there's some way that the county and SANDAG could align, or that only, one entity maybe is the one that sets the criteria, or the grant is through them, I think that we'd be able to serve people more effectively and efficiently if something like that were to happen. I don't know, all the powers that be that would have to fall into place to make that a reality. But from our perspective, sometimes that causes some unnecessary hurdles and barriers to providing effective and efficient service. So nobody else? No other comments? Oh, yes, Todd.
When we get a lot of projects that come through here discussing grants for things like new vehicles and things like that, but I haven't ever heard anything that surrounds maybe training of new drivers and support personnel for those operations. I think that's one of the things that a lot of providers that are currently operating are in need of, is just personnel and specialized trained individuals. So to see something like that come through the committee would, I think, benefit the, everybody in general.
Thank you, Todd. Heidi?
Oh, sorry, can you hear me? Okay, I try to talk loud. Because when we go out, we're taking our hearts in our hands to go take that leap of faith that we're going to find our way. And it's so much nicer to be able to travel independently than to have to spend however many hundreds of dollars it is for MTS or NCTD to provide access buses. If I can go on the bus, I much prefer it, not only for that, but I can control the time better. But I need to know where I am. I really, really need to know where I am. And I still get drivers who act as if I'm imposing on them to ask them, where am I? What stop is coming up? Or tell me where the stop is. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. So we need those automated systems that work in all of the public access vehicles. I believe I would really appreciate it. And I think there are lots of folks who feel that way.
Thank you, Clyde. And I don't see any other member comments and no other public comments. So do we close the hearing? Yeah. Okay. All right. And then our next meeting will be Tuesday, July 18th at 10 a.m.
I just wanted to say thank you all, and it was really great working with you. And Zach, I wish you the best with them, and they're an amazing council.
Thank you. With that, we're adjourned.
It's